Warmly welcome to this seminar on the situation in Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and it's called The Fresh Perspectives on Building Peace in Eastern DRC. And this seminar is in cooperation between the Christian Democratic Party and the Social Democratic Party, and also together with Life and Peace Institute, the Nordic Africa Institute, Kvinna till Kvinna, Diakonia, and PMU. And I hope that I've remembered all of your different organizations. My name is Desiree Petrus, and I'm a member of parliament for the Christian Democratic Party. And I've been in the Foreign Committee, but now I'm also in the European Union Committee in this parliament. Katarina Köhler, who will summarize in the end of this seminar, is from the Social Democratic Party, and we are together host for this seminar here in the Parliament. I'm following the situation in DRC, and not long time ago, Dr. Denis Mukwege visited us here in the Parliament and told us about sexual violence in DRC, and that we need to do everything we can to stop the violence. And I hope that we today will get more knowledge how to create a better future for people of DRC. We need to do all we can to promote peace and security for all, and also to see more of development in DRC. The situation in DRC is terrible in many aspects. The Congolese civil war, beginning in 1996, has devastated the country and also involved 9 African nations in the region. We have UN peacekeeping troops, and still the result is death of 5.4 million people since 1998. Most of the deaths are, though, related to bad living conditions, and that is also, of course, because of war or conflict and lack of development. DRC is a country rich of national resources and could be a flourishing country, but it is one of the poorest in the world. According to Human Development Index, DR Congo has a low level, is on a low level of human development ranking, as for number 186 out of 187. And this is, of course, because of different reasons, but it's political instability, war and conflicts, lack of infrastructure, and a vast corruption. Many women in DRC lack basic rights in their everyday life. Sexual violence hit many women and stigmatizes them in their family and villages, and they are often abandoned by their families. Lack of social and political rights, lack of health care, as maternal health, is a problem for the whole country, and improvement is necessary for the future. I here today look forward to listen to different speakers, and they will be presented later on by our moderator, Elina Suiri. Maybe you should stand up, our moderator, Elina, you're very welcome. She's the director of the Nordic Africa Institute. But first, we will listen to Séverine Auteser. I'm not maybe saying it's right, but Séverine, you're associate professor at Columbia University and a renowned international Congo expert. And please welcome Mrs. Auteser.
I've been told to wait for the signal that I can start because they are filming the event, so I'm waiting. I got the signal. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thanks to all of you for being here today. We all know why this meeting is important. The Congo rarely hits the headlines, but the facts speak for themselves. The Congolese conflict is the deadliest conflict since World War II. It has caused almost 4 million deaths so far. It has destabilized most of Central Africa for the past 18 years. It is the largest ongoing humanitarian crisis in the world. And that's why I first went to Congo in 2001. I was a young humanitarian aid worker, and I met this woman who was my age. She was called Isabel. Local militias had attacked Isabel's village. They had killed many men, they had raped many women, they had looted everything. And then they wanted to take Isabel, but her husband stepped in and he said, no, please don't take Isabel, take me instead. So he had gone to the forest with the militias, and Isabel had never seen him again. It's because of people like Isabel and her husband that we need to understand how to better help the Congo build peace and security. And when we think about Congo, there is a story that we have all heard, and it's a story about minerals and rape. Policy statements and media reports both usually focus on the primary cause of violence in Congo, the illegal exploitation and trafficking of natural resources, and on the main consequence, sexual abuse of women and girls as a weapon of war. Not that these two issues aren't important and tragic, they are. But today, I want to tell you a different story. I want to tell you a story that emphasizes one of the core causes of the ongoing violence. Continuing violence in Congo is in large part driven by local bottom-up conflicts that international peace efforts have failed to help address. And the story starts from the fact that not only is Congo notable for being the world's worst ongoing humanitarian crisis, but it is also home to some of the largest international peace-building efforts in the world. Congo hosts the largest, most expensive United Nations peacekeeping mission in the world. It was also the site of the first European-led peacekeeping mission ever. And for its first cases, the International Criminal Court chose to prosecute Congolese warlords. And so in 2006, when Congo held the first free national elections in its history, many observers saw that an end to violence in the region had finally come. The international community lauded the successful organization of these elections as finally an example of successful international intervention in a failed state. But the eastern provinces have continued to face massive population displacement and horrific human rights violations. Shortly before I went back there last summer, there was a horrible massacre in South Kivu. 33 people were killed. They were mostly women and children, and many of them were hacked to death. And the more recent news on Congo similarly emphasized a lot of continuing human rights violations, killing, looting, rapes, and atrocities. Even worse, over the past 8 years, fighting in the eastern provinces has regularly reignited full-scale civil and international war. Basically, every time we feel that we are on the brink of peace, the conflict explodes again. Why? Why have the massive international peace efforts failed to help Congo achieve lasting peace and security? My answer to this question revolves around two central findings. First, one of the main reasons for the continuation of violence in Congo is fundamentally local. And when I say local, I really mean at the level of the individual, the family, the clan, the municipality, the community, sometimes the ethnic group. For instance, you remember the story of Isabel that I told you? Well, the reason why the rebels had attacked Isabel's village, raped so many of her friends, killed so many of her neighbors, was because the rebels wanted to take the land that the villagers needed to cultivate food and to survive. My second central observation is that the international peace efforts have failed to help address local conflicts because of the presence of a dominant peace-building culture. What I mean is that Western and African diplomats, United Nations peacekeepers, donors, the staff of most non-governmental organizations involved in the resolution of conflict, all of these people share a specific way of seeing the world. And I was one of these people, and I shared this culture. So I know all too well how powerful it is. Throughout the world, and throughout conflict zones, this common culture shapes our understanding of the causes of violence as primarily located in the national and international realms. It shapes our understanding of the path toward peace as requiring top-down intervention to address national and international tensions. And it shapes our understanding of the roles of foreign actors as engaging in national and international peace processes. Even more importantly, this common culture enables international peace builders to ignore the micro-level tensions that so often jeopardize macro-level peace settlements. So for instance, in Congo, because of how they are trained, diplomats, donors, the staff of the United Nations, of most non-governmental and international organizations, all of these people interpret continued fighting and massacre as a top-down problem. To them, the violence they see is the consequence of national and international tensions, tensions between President Kabila and various national opponents, and tensions between Congo, Rwanda, and Uganda. And in addition, these international interveners view local conflicts as simply the result of national and international tensions, insufficient state authority, and the Congolese people's so-called inherent propensity for violence. The dominant culture also shaped the international actors' understanding of their role. It constructs elections at the national and at the national and provincial levels as the only natural, legitimate task for United Nations staffers and diplomats. Elections have become a sort of cure-all, along with national and international peace settlements, and it happens not only in Congo, but also in many other conflict zones. But let's dig deeper into the other main causes of violence. In Congo, continuing conflict and violence is motivated not only by the national and regional tensions, but also by long-standing bottom-up agendas, whose main instigators are villagers, traditional chiefs, community chiefs, ethnic leaders. Many conflicts revolve around political, social, economic stakes that are distinctively local. For instance, there is a lot of competition at the level of the village or the district over who can be chief of village or chief of the territory according to traditional law, and who can control the distribution of land and the exploitation of local mining sites. This competition often results in localized fighting, say in one village or territory, and quite frequently it escalates into generalized fighting, so across a whole province and even at times into neighboring countries. So a lot of the violence in Congo is not coordinated on a large scale. Let's take, for example, the conflict between the Congolese of Rwandan descent and the indigenous communities of the Kivus. This conflict started in the 1930s, during Belgian colonization, because each camp competed over local access to land and to local power. The conflict escalated in 1960, after Congolese independence, because each camp allied with national politicians in order to advance their local agendas. And at the time of the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, these local actors allied with Congolese and Rwandan armed groups, but still to advance their local agendas around land and local power. And since then, these local disputes have led to conflicts many times that have jeopardized the national and international peace settlements. So we can wonder why, in these circumstances, the international peace interveners have failed to help support local conflict resolution. And the answer is that international peace builders usually view local conflict management as an unimportant, unfamiliar, and unmanageable task. The very idea of becoming involved at the local level clashes fundamentally with existing cultural norms, and it threatens key organizational interests. For instance, the very idea of the United Nations, the very identity of the United Nations as a macro-level international organization would be upended if it were to refocus on local conflicts. And as a result, there has been very little attention and efforts made to support local conflict resolution. And there have been only a few exceptions up to now. And what's fascinating is that this analysis can help us better understand many cases of lasting conflicts and international intervention failures in Africa and elsewhere. Local conflicts sustain violence in many war and post-war environments, and that happens from Afghanistan to Sudan to Timor-Leste. And in the rare cases where there have been comprehensive bottom-up peace-building initiatives, these initiatives have been successful in making peace sustainable. One of the best examples is the contrast between the relatively peaceful situation in Somaliland, which benefited from sustained grassroots peace-building initiatives, and the violence prevalent in the rest of Somalia, where peace-building has been mostly top-down. And there are several other cases in which local conflict resolution has made a crucial difference, for instance, in Northern Ireland and in South Africa. So, if we want international peace-building to work, in addition to any top-down intervention, conflicts must be resolved from the bottom up. And again, my argument is not that national and international tensions don't matter. They do. And it's not that national and international peace-building is unnecessary. It is. Instead, my argument is that both macro-level and micro-level peace-building are needed to make peace sustainable. And local organizations, local authorities, civil society representatives should be the main actors in the bottom-up process. But there are obstacles. Local actors often lack the funding and the logistical means to implement effective local conflict resolution programs. So, international actors, including Swedish agencies, should help support local conflict resolution. And so, as for Congo, what can we do, and what can Sweden do for Congo? Well, after 2 decades of conflict and the deaths of millions, it is clear that we need to change approach. Based on my field research, I believe that international and Congolese actors should pay more attention to 2 very important topics. It's land conflict and the promotion of inter-community reconciliation. For example, in the Kivus, the Life and Peace Institute and its Congolese partners have organized inter-community forums to discuss the specifics of local conflicts over land. And these forums have found solutions to help manage the violence. That's the kind of program that is so sorely needed throughout Eastern Congo. And it's with programs like these that we can help people like Isabel and her husband. These will not be magic wands, but because they take into account deeply rooted causes of the violence, they could definitely be game changers. Thank you.